Olive is an ostrich. She lives with her family in the outback. But Olive is very different. Olive's dad loves to run. Olive isn't a fast runner. Olive's mum enjoys laying huge eggs. Olive doesn't like the look of that at all. Olive's little brother pecks at the ground to find tasty roots to eat. Pecking at the ground makes Olive sneeze. But Olive has an incredible imagination. So while the rest of her family are running, pecking and laying eggs, Olive can be found imagining herself going on amazing adventures when she buries her head down, down into the sand. Until she popped up somewhere new. Olive could see a big sloping ramp in front of her and hundreds of empty seats all around.
Oh, I wonder what this slopey thing is for.
Olive heard a strange buzzing noise.
Oh.
A man on a motorbike was flying through the air towards her.
Okay.
He had to swerve to miss Olive and crashed into a pile of tyres.
Oh, are you all right?
I think so.
The motorbike rider was wearing a sparkly cloak and a helmet.
My name's Darren. Daredevil Darren. I'm the world's greatest stunt rider.
Nice to meet you, Darren. I'm Olive. Sorry for knocking you off your motorbike. I didn't see you coming.
That's all right. I was just practicing a jump for my show tonight. There are hundreds of my fans coming. Oh, but I think I've hurt my hand, and I can't steer my motorbike if my hand hurts.
Well, maybe I could do the jump for you.
But my fans have come to see Daredevil Darren. I can't let them down.
Olive spotted a stall selling Daredevil Darren souvenirs.
A helmet? A cloak? I think I may have an idea. I'll hide under this cloak and steer the bike, and you can sit on my back. The audience will think you're doing the jump on your own.
Darren thought it was a great plan.
What can possibly go wrong?
It was time for the big jump. The crowd were cheering for Daredevil Darren. Olive was hiding under Darren's cloak. The crowd counted them down.
3, 2, 1, go!
Olive hit the pedal and they were off. Olive and Darren sped towards the jump. But then the motorbike wobbled and the cloak got tangled in the back wheel. And Darren was pulled off the bike.
This is a goal!
Cried Olive. The crowd weren't happy when they saw Olive was riding the bike and not Darren. Olive screamed as she flew off the end of the ramp.
Wow!
She jumped high in the air and crashed into a banner.
Wow!
She was flung through a ring of fire, over a tank of snapping crocodiles, and then over a double-decker bus. Olive somersaulted 3 more times on the bike before landing safely on the ramp.
That was a close one.
Oh, that was amazing.
Darren exclaimed.
Listen, the crowd love you.
Really?
Olive replied. The crowd thought Olive's bike stunt was brilliant,
I'm just glad to have my feet back on the ground.
said Olive.
I don't think flying's for me.
Olive and Darren waved to the audience and laughed. And as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Okay. Actually, I rode a stunt bike with Daredevil Darren.
Your head's been in the sand too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive was standing by a swimming pool, surrounded by lots of cheering people. She was wearing a bright yellow swimming costume and goggles.
Are all these people here to see me?
Suddenly, a voice boomed out from some loudspeakers.
Up next in the high diving competition is Braveheart Beaver, the undefeated 5-time gold medal winner.
Olive realised she was in the queue for a high diving board behind Braveheart Beaver and an elephant.
A high diving competition, and I must be one of the contestants!
Exclaimed Olive. Olive was wondering why the elephant in front of her was shaking.
I'm Olive. Why are you shaking?
Hello, I'm nervous Nellie.
Said the elephant.
I'm shaking because I'm a bit nervous about jumping off that high diving board. I have this terrible fear of heights.
Olive looked up at the diving board.
Oh, I see. It is rather high.
Braveheart Beaver scores 26,
Said the announcer.
Up next, Nervous Nellie.
I can't do it.
Said Nellie sadly.
I can't do it. I'm off home.
She slowly walked towards the door, hanging her head and trunk in shame. Olive tried to think of an idea to help Nellie. It was then that she spotted a man with a beard selling peanuts.
Peanuts! Get your fresh salty peanuts here!
Shouted the man.
Elephants love peanuts. I think I may have an idea.
Olive quickly bought a pack of peanuts and began to drop a trail of peanuts along the floor, up the steps of the diving board, and then along the diving board itself. Nellie noticed the trail of peanuts.
Oh, I love peanuts.
She exclaimed. She followed the trail, eating the peanuts as she walked towards the ladder, then up the ladder, and along the end of the diving board where Olive was standing.
If you want the rest, you'll have to eat them before they get wet.
Olive threw the rest of the peanuts off the edge of the diving board. Nellie leapt off after the peanuts. She sucked up all the peanuts as they fell through the air, spectacularly twisting around all over the place before landing in the pool with an almighty splash.
Nervous Nellie scores 27,
Said the announcer.
And now we have one more contestant, Olive the Ostrich.
Okay, now for my big finish.
Olive gathered all her courage and ran towards the edge of the board. But the board was still covered in peanuts. Olive slipped and lost her balance. She went flying off the board, doing a flip, a triple backward somersault, and a corkscrew spin.
Olive scores a perfect 30. She's the winner.
I can't believe it. I won the gold medal.
Exclaimed Olive.
And I can't believe I overcame my fear of heights.
Said Nellie.
Oh, thanks for all your help, Olive.
Oh, it was nothing.
As the crowd continued to clap and cheer, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Okay, actually, I won a high diving competition.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive was wearing a white shirt, a black suit jacket, and a bow tie. She was in a huge kitchen. Chefs in tall white hats running around, one using a large metal spoon to ladle soup out of a huge steaming pot, and another icing a big cake with a piping bag.
Okay, this is a really busy place.
She could hear someone smashing plates, and she went off to see what was happening. She noticed a rosy-cheeked manager surrounded by broken plates.
Oh, hello.
Said Olive.
Ah, bonjour, mademoiselle.
Said the manager.
My name's not Mademoiselle, it's Olive. Pleased to meet you. Are you okay?
I'm Pierre Petitpois, and it is the opening night of my restaurant Le Mange Tout.
Well, that's great.
Exclaimed Olive.
Oui, but the head waiter has not turned up, and the famous food critic Monsieur Le Croc is coming. How am I going to serve everyone their food on my own? C'est impossible.
Oh, dear. Well, I could help you. but you'll need to show me what to do.
said Olive.
What a magnifique idea.
So Pierre showed Olive how to serve like a real waitress. She had to hold a tray with one hand, pour grape juice into a glass with another, meanwhile serving the finest sausage and mashed potato with 2 silver spoons,
Oh, heck. I'm not sure I'm very good at this.
said Olive.
Oh, quel dommage. This will never work. We need to go faster.
Faster?
Thought Olive. Just then, Olive remembered all the equipment from the kitchen.
A silver ladle? A piping bag? I think I may have an idea.
Olive went to fetch the 2 items from the kitchen.
When it's time to serve the food, you hold up the customer's plates and I'll catapult the sausage and mashed potato onto them. Then I'll squirt the grape juice from the piping bag into the glasses. We should be able to serve them all in no time.
Olive, this idea is fantastic.
Very soon, the restaurant was full of hungry customers. So Olive and Pierre got to work, catapulting, catching, aiming and squirting. The food critic, Monsieur Le Croc, had arrived and was sitting, waiting for his dinner. It was all going so well until Olive began to serve the food a little too fast and Pierre couldn't keep up,
Olive, you must slow down.
warned Pierre.
Or something bad is going to...
But before he could finish, Olive catapulted the mashed potato into the food critic Monsieur Le Croc's face and the sausage into his mouth. The whole restaurant fell silent.
Monsieur Le Croc, I'm ever so sorry. Are you okay?
Monsieur Le Croc didn't move for a second. Then he took a big bite of his sausage and licked his lips.
Magnifique. I have never seen service like it. I award le mange tout, the highest honor, la golden fork.
Pierre could
la, la,
not
la, la.
believe it.
Oh, mademoiselle, you saved the day.
All in a day's work, Pierre. But my name's Olive.
They both laughed. And as they did, Olive realized it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Okay. Actually, I've been a waitress in the finest French restaurant.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive was outside in the rain, right in the middle of a large muddy field. She was wearing a maroon-coloured shirt and was holding an umbrella to keep her dry.
Oh, Bagek! I'm wearing a sports kit.
There was a goal at each end of the muddy field, and behind one of the goals there was a large tree laden with apples.
Hey, number 7.
Shouted a tall pig with a clipboard.
Hello, I'm Olive.
I'm Sean Curlytail. I coach the Richmond Hockey Hogs.
He said, pointing towards a group of pigs all wearing the same maroon kit as Olive.
And you must be our missing team member.
Oh, how exciting!
Problem is, you're not the only thing missing. Today, I forgot to bring the hockey sticks and hockey balls. We can't play hockey without them.
Olive looked at the big apple tree.
Some apples? My umbrella? I think I may have an idea.
Olive organised the team into a large pyramid with hair at the very top. Olive hooked her umbrella around a branch that had lots of apples hanging down from it. She shook the branch and all the apples fell off it and tumbled to the ground.
Oh, this is all well and good, and apples are very tasty. But how does this help us play hockey?
Well, a hockey ball is small and round like an apple. And a hockey stick is a long straight stick with a curve on the bottom, a bit like this umbrella.
Oh, brilliant idea, Olive. But to play a game of hockey, we all need a stick.
Excuse me.
Piped up a small pig.
I'm Sophie Swine, the captain of the Hogs. Why don't we have a penalty shootout? We only need one stick for that.
Great idea!
Said Sean, and he quickly organised the competition. Each pig would get one shot on goal using an apple as the ball and Olive's umbrella as the hockey stick. Sophie Swine volunteered to play in goal. Everyone took turns to shoot. Some shot too high, some shot too low. But every time Sophie would get in the way of the apple ball and eat it, stopping it going into the goal. For one shot, she even did a backward somersault, landing on her feet and gobbling up the apple.
Well, you're the last player, Olive. No one has managed to get a goal yet. So if you score a goal now, then you're the winner.
Olive took a long run up and swung for the apple ball. But the pitch was so wet, she slipped. Her shot had lost all of its power. Olive watched as the ball rolled slowly towards the line. But instead of saving the apple ball by eating it, Sophie simply let it roll through her legs and into the goal.
Goal!
Shouted Sean.
Olive's the winner!
The other pigs cheered and lifted Olive high into the air.
Gek! I'm glad I won. Sophie, why didn't you save my shot?
Sorry, I would have done, but my tummy's too full of apples.
Said Sophie before letting out a huge burp. They all laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Gek, actually, I've been playing a wonderful game of hockey.
Your head's been in the sand too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive found herself in a room with shelves and worktops piled high with mounds of dust. She was wearing an apron decorated with pictures of violins, cellos and bassoons.
Gek, this place could do with a spot of dusting.
Just then, two smiling woodworms popped their head out of a dust pile.
Oh, hello.
Said Olive. The woodworms vanished before popping up from another dust pile.
My, you're both quick on your feet. I mean, tummies.
Before either worm had a chance to reply, whoosh! A large net fell over them, sending clouds of dust up into the air. The dust made Olive cough.
Did I get them? Yeah? No? Ah! Missed them again.
As the dust cleared, she found herself face to face with a tall wolf wearing an apron just like hers.
Hello, I am Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, instrument maker to the king. This is my workshop.
I'm Olive. Nice to meet you, Wolfgang. But, I don't see any instruments.
This was a cello. This was a violin. And this was a bassoon to be played at the king's birthday concert tonight.
Oh, I don't think you'll get much sound out of those instruments.
This I know. It's those woodworm. As soon as I make any instrument from wood, they eat it. See? If I don't make the bassoon for the king's birthday concert tonight, he will be very upset. You must help me, Olive.
Olive thought hard.
Well, if the woodworm only like to eat wood, maybe you could make a bassoon out of something else.
But what?
Olive looked around at things in the workshop.
A vacuum cleaner, a bicycle pump. I think I may have an idea.
With Wolfgang's help, Olive used the vacuum cleaner's bendy pipe to form the body of the bassoon. Then they used the top of the bicycle pump as its mouthpiece.
Finished!
Now to see how it sounds, yeah?
Wolfgang placed his lips to the bicycle pump mouthpiece and blow.
Is that how a bassoon is supposed to sound, Wolfgang?
Wolfgang stopped playing and shook his head.
No, that sounded terrible.
Just then, Olive remembered how the woodworm had reacted to the sound.
Those greedy woodworm didn't like the noise the bassoon made either. Wolfgang, you start to make your new wooden bassoon for the king's birthday concert. I think I know how I can keep those woodworm away.
Olive blew into the bassoon as she marched up and down. The woodworm couldn't stand the noise, and soon they wiggled away. And at last, Wolfgang finished making what would be his finest wooden bassoon.
Ah, perfect. Thank you, Olive. Without your help, the concert would have been a disaster. Would you like to come as my guest?
I think I've heard enough bassoons for one day, thank you.
They both laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Actually, I helped make a bassoon for a king.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive was standing in the middle of a large field with white lines painted on it. There was a net across the middle. She was wearing a little white skirt and a sun visor. Close by, two very tired-looking giraffes sat on a bench. Olive was about to walk over and talk to the giraffes when all of a sudden a ball went flying past her head, followed by another and another.
Oh, please stop, you're going to hit me.
Sorry, man, I didn't see you there.
Olive saw a curly-haired toad wearing white shorts and holding a racket.
I'm John McIntoad, and I'm trying to train for an important match, but my training partners Virginia and Wade are too tired to play.
Oh, I'm Olive. If Virginia and Wade are too tired, maybe I can help you train.
Well, sure. Do you play tennis?
I don't even know what tennis is.
You cannot be serious. This is a tennis court. This is my tennis racket. Surely everyone knows what tennis is.
I'm afraid not. Will you teach me?
Sure, I guess I could. First you need a racket like mine. It's what you use to hit the ball.
John gave Olive a lovely pink racket from his bag.
Now you go down to that end, and when I hit the tennis ball over the net to you, you try and hit it back, okay?
Olive swung her racket a couple of times to get ready. John threw the ball high above his head and hit it over the net. It was going so fast, Olive couldn't reach it in time. John tried again and again, but each time he hit the ball so hard that Olive couldn't hit it back. Then John smashed the ball really hard. It whizzed over the net and hit Olive right on the wing, making her spin around. Into the net, feathers flying everywhere.
I've broken the net!
Exclaimed Olive. John McIntoad ran over and stuck a long strip of sticky plaster on Olive's wing.
Don't worry about the net. I hope I haven't hurt you, Olive.
Oh no, I'm fine, John. But I'm afraid I haven't given you much tennis practice.
Olive looked around and suddenly thought of something.
Some feathers. A ball? Some sticky plasters? I think I may have an idea.
Olive picked up one of the balls and carefully started to stick feathers to the ball with the sticky plasters. Next, she asked Virginia and Wade to hold up the net.
Oh, that's a bit higher than before.
Once the net was in position, John tossed the feather-covered ball above his head and hit it over the net. With the feathers on it, the ball was now going slower and Olive could reach it. She hit the ball back this time to John.
This is what we call a rally,
said John, hitting the ball back to Olive. Olive and John hit the ball back and forth, high and low, fast and slow. They played the tennis rally all afternoon until eventually John hit the ball too low and it landed in the net.
Ugh, I think that's enough practice for one day,
said John, breathing heavily and looking exhausted.
Thanks for the game, although I'm not sure I'm really very good at tennis.
Well, you were amazing at featherball. You've invented a whole new game.
Have I? Oh, let's hope it doesn't catch on. I don't want to lose any more feathers.
They both laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Actually, I invented a new game called Featherball.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive was standing in a room with lots of metal boxes making strange whirring noises. There were huge piles of clothes everywhere, and she was wearing blue overalls. Just then, a sock flew out of one of the piles, narrowly missing Olive's head. Exclaimed Olive.
Oh, I didn't see you there.
Said a small man who'd appeared from behind a mountain of clothes.
I'm Dudley Sud. It's a pleasure to meet you.
He shook Olive's wing enthusiastically.
I'm Olive. Nice to meet you too. What are all these piles of clothes?
Laundry, of course. This is Dudley Sud's launderette, and we have way too much laundry to do today. Problem is, it's all very important. We must wash all the tablecloths for Pedro's pizza parlour, then wash all the towels for Humphrey's hotel, and then wash all the football kits for the Wixley Wanderers Football Club. It all needs to be delivered by 5 o'clock, and it's already 3:30. Oh!
Well, we'd better get started then.
Dudley showed Olive how to operate the machines.
You put the laundry in here, pour in the soap powder, and turn the dial like this.
Got it.
Said Olive confidently. They both worked quickly, loading the machines and setting them going. Olive thought she would pour in a little extra washing powder to get the job done quickly. It all seemed to be going very smoothly. But then, all of a sudden, bubbles started to pour out of one of the machines.
Oh dear, that's not right.
Exclaimed Dudley, shaking his head.
Olive, you must have put too much washing powder into the machines.
The bubbles began to form a puddle on the floor until eventually they covered the whole shop and were still rising. Soon Dudley and Olive were up to their necks in bubbles.
Oh no, what are we going to do?
Olive spotted some round metal things poking down from the ceiling.
What are those for?
Those are sprinklers. They spray water all over the place if there's a fire.
Some sprinklers that spray water all over the place? I think I may have an idea.
Olive pressed a big red button on the wall to turn the sprinklers on. Water sprayed out everywhere.
Oh no, what have you done now, Olive? You're going to flood me launderette.
That's the idea, Dudley. Now open that door.
Dudley opened the door. The bubbles flooded out of the door and into the street. Olive's plan was working. But there was a problem. All the tablecloth, towels and football kits were disappearing out of the laundrette and down the street, along with the bubbles.
Stop that laundry!
Shouted Dudley as he and Olive chased the bubbles and the laundry down the street. They chased the laundry past Pedro's pizza parlour,
Tablecloths,
then on past Humphrey's hotel,
towels.
then finally past Wixley Wanderers Football Club.
Well, I never.
Said Dudley as he inspected the football kits hanging on the goal.
That was a bit of luck.
Yes.
Said Olive, pointing down the street.
And we delivered all the laundry in time.
Dudley beamed.
Thank you, Olive. I couldn't have done this without you.
Working in a laundrette's loads of fun, but it's really hard. I'm feeling all washed out.
They both laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Okay, actually, I've been working in a fabulous laundrette.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive was standing next to a bubbling waterfall. She was wearing heavy chainmail and a knight's helmet.
Ooh!
Just then, Olive heard a loud noise.
Oh, that sounds painful.
Out of nowhere leapt a huge dragon wearing an orange headband. He swished his enormous tail this way and that. It was all very impressive.
Welcome.
I'm Olive. Who are you?
I am Claude Van Doom, student of Dragon Fu.
What's dragon flu?
I will show you.
With this, Claude showed Olive some of his best dragon fu moves.
Very good flu, Claude.
I hope my examiner agrees. I am taking the final part of my Dragon Fu exam today. If I pass, my dream to become a Dragon Fu master will come true.
What do you have to do?
I will show you.
With this, Claude took a deep breath and blew as hard as he could towards a nearby tree. Flames shot from his mouth and set the tree on fire in an instant. Whoosh!
The exam subject is an impressive display of fire breathing.
I think you should put that fire out, Claude.
Olive saw the bubbling waterfall behind her.
Quick, Claude, use the water to put out the fire.
Claude plunged his head into the bubbling water, quickly gulping it down before blowing the lot onto the flaming tree.
Well Well done, Claude. You put the fire out.
But Claude didn't look very happy. Claude tried to breathe fire, but bubbles poured out from his mouth instead.
Oh, this is a disaster. How will I pass my exam in fire breathing if I am breathing bubbles?
Olive thought. She looked down at her chainmail and plucked one of the wires free.
A wire. Bubbles? I think I may have an idea.
Olive started to pull and twist the wires into different shapes, just as Claude's examiner arrived to start the test.
So, Mr. Van Doom, I hope you're ready to impress me with your fire breathing.
Claude looked at Olive and gulped.
Yes, he is, Mr. Examiner.
I'll be the judge of that, thank you.
The examiner watched as Claude took a deep breath and started to blow bubbles from his mouth instead of fire.
Oh, dear.
Said the examiner, unimpressed.
Oh, dear, oh, dear.
But then the bubbles squeezed through the wire shapes Olive had made and formed a huge spider, a knight, even an elephant.
Well, I need something more impressive than that.
Claude took a deep breath and blew a massive bubble right at the examiner. It surrounded him, and before he knew it, he was floating up in the air inside the bubble.
Oh, I'm floating. Oh, Claude, your display of bubble breathing is more impressive than any fire breathing. Here's your certificate.
Oh, Claude, you passed.
Thank you, Olive, for all your help. With a little practice, you too could master Dragon Fall.
Really?
With this, Olive Dragon Fu chopped a tree, sending lots of fruit falling down on top of her.
Ouch! No, I think I'll stick to looking at trees, not dragon fooing them.
They both laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Actually, I've been blowing bubbles with a dragon.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive saw beautiful plants and flowers everywhere. She was in the jungle. Olive was wearing an explorer's hat and boots. She had a camera and a magnifying glass.
Grr! I have everything I need to explore this place.
She was about to set off when she noticed something odd. Some leaves which seemed to float along above the ground. Olive took out her magnifying glass and looked closer at the leaves.
Those leaves aren't floating. Tiny ants are carrying them to their anthill.
Olive photographed the ants and walked off into the trees. First, she passed a splashing waterfall. Olive took a photo with her camera. Next, she passed an enormous blue flower. She took a photo of that too. Finally, she found herself on a cliff top where she took a photo of the spectacular view. Olive thought she'd stop to take a rest. Suddenly, she heard a little voice.
I'm lost. Could you please help me find my way back home?
Olive turned and saw a brightly coloured parrot.
Well, sure. I'd love to help you. I'm Olive.
Well, sure. I'd love to help you. I'm Olive.
Olive was confused.
No, my name's Olive. What's yours?
No, my name's Olive. What's yours?
Wait, why are you repeating everything I say?
Wait, why are you repeating everything I say?
I'm sorry. I should probably be getting on my way.
I'm sorry. I should probably be getting on my way. No, please don't go. I really am lost. My name is Anthony the Ant, and I really want to go home.
I think you're a parrot, not an ant.
I think you're a parrot.
Okay, that's enough.
Said Olive. Olive held her magnifying glass up to the parrot's face, and sitting on top of the parrot's head was a tiny little ant.
You see, I'm using the parrot to talk for me because my voice is so tiny and quiet.
Olive plucked the ant carefully from the parrot's head, and the parrot flew away.
It's good to meet you, Anthony. Maybe I can help you find your way home.
Well, I live in a huge anthill. Have you seen it?
You mean like this one?
Yes, that's my home. Can you take me there, Olive?
Olive wasn't sure she knew which direction to take. It was then she remembered all the other photos she'd taken while walking all day, and could see she had made footprints as she walked.
A trail of footprints showing where I came from. and lots of photographs. I think I may have an idea.
Olive placed Anthony on her shoulder and began walking back, retracing the footprints she'd left.
If I look through my photos, I can find your anthill, Anthony.
Using the photos, she walked back past the spectacular view, then past the enormous blue flower, and then past the splashing waterfall. Finally, Olive and Anthony arrived back at the anthill. Loads of ants came out to welcome him home. They were so pleased, they picked Olive up and cheered.
I think I might be getting ants in my pants.
Exclaimed Olive. Olive and the ants all laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Actually, I helped an ant in the jungle.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive was standing on a steep slope covered in crunchy white snow. It was very cold. She was wearing a thick, puffy coat and a bobble hat.
I'm glad I've got these warm clothes.
Oh, yes, you can say that again.
Said a voice. Olive turned to see a little man with a huge bushy beard. He was only wearing a vest and pants. He was shivering quite a lot.
I'm Olive. Pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Sir Edmund Hillertop, a famous mountaineer. I climb all the tallest mountains.
Oh, so is this a tall mountain?
Tall? Olive, old bean, this is Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world, and I'm climbing to the summit.
But, Sir Edmund, what's happened to all your clothes? Aren't you cold?
Oh, there was this huge gust of wind. It blew away all my warm clothes, along with my map, compass, and packed lunch. So now I'm rather chilly, hungry, and lost.
Well, I'm not sure how to help. I'm no mountaineer.
Suddenly, there was an enormous growl. Out from behind a rock jumped a huge, fairy, man-shaped thing. It was growling, and it didn't sound at all happy to see them.
Oh, that's the infamous Yeti! Run for it before he eats us for his dinner! Wait! He's got my map, compass, and packed lunch! Oi! Give those back!
Oh, I think that's the last we'll see of those. Oh dear, I think he's still hungry. Maybe he's going to eat us next.
She had to think fast.
Sir Edmund, do you have any food at all?
Well, I do have my emergency cupcake. Always keep one tucked away.
A cupcake? A hungry Yeti? I think I may have an idea.
Olive took the cupcake from Sir Edmund and held it out to the Yeti. The Yeti grabbed the cupcake and gobbled it down. Yum, said the Yeti. He seemed very happy.
Oh, I think he wants your poles too, Edmund.
Said Olive. Edmund handed them over. The Yeti used them as needles to knit a long scarf out of his own fur. He gave it to Edmund. Edmund wrapped the scarf around himself.
Well, thanks very much. This Yeti scarf really is very warm.
I think he wants to lead us to the summit of Everest.
Said Olive. So Olive and Sir Edmund followed the Yeti all the way to the summit.
We've conquered Everest!
Beamed Sir Edmund.
And you're the first ever ostrich to climb it. Congratulations, Olive.
That's lovely. But how do we get down again?
Suddenly, the Yeti gave Olive and Sir Edmund a push. They went sliding all the way down Mount Everest on their bottoms, and the Yeti slid down behind. Cried Olive as she slid. At the bottom, they ended up in a snowdrift.
Oh, that was fun.
Thanks so much for all your help, Olive.
I think you've got yourself a new mountain climbing best friend forever.
Chuckled Olive. They all laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Cake? Actually, I climbed Mount Everest and met a Yeti.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure.